The mother sheep shaved the wool off her lamb. She wanted to knit him a warm woolen sweater, but before the sweater was finished, the lamb died. Before going to heaven, all the lambs must cross a long river, and all their belongings will disappear. Ever since the lamb left, the mother sheep has been devastated. She's been lying in bed every day, depressed. When the mailman knocked on the door, she picks up the knitting needles on the floor and throws them away. She doesn't want to see anyone. Every corner of the house was filled with the lamb's shadow. The mama sheep can't get over the pain of her lamb's departure. The little sheep was lying on the clouds, watching the mother sheep like this, and was really uneasy to leave. So he borrowed an electric pusher from the auntie in front of him in the queue. Then he ran all the way to the deepest part of the cloud. He used the electric pusher to shave off the wool on his body little by little. But when he ran back to return it, he attracted the attention of the wolf guard. He spread his wings and flew to the sheep's side. The little sheep was nervous and hurried to follow the front line, not noticing anything unusual. The wolf guard flew back to his post. The lamb took the opportunity to run back into the clouds again. He followed his mother's example and kneaded the shaved wool little by little into a piece of wool. The line of sheep outside changed from one to another. The wool in his hands grew longer and longer. I don't know how long it took. The little sheep fell asleep on the edge of the knitted wool. When he woke up, he went back to knitting. He threw the knitted wool down into the clouds and began to crawl to the ground. He wanted to go back to his mother and say goodbye to her in person. A gust of wind came up. The lamb pulls the wool and sways in the wind, but it was all right. He made it to the ground and couldn't wait to get home. Through the door, he hugged his mom again. He was finally back with her, but no matter how he waved, she couldn't see him. He was so anxious. He didn't know what to do. But then the wolf guard came after him. He took the lamb by the hand and dragged him away from his mother. He desperately waved goodbye to his mother. He knew this goodbye would be forever. At this moment, the mother sheep touched the place where the lamb had just been lying down. All the memories of the lamb came back to her. At that time, the lamb always liked to take a storybook and ask her to read it to him. He fell asleep every day listening to his mom's stories. He asked his mom to make him a little crown, so that he could become a prince and protect his mother. She promised to knit him a sweater, but he left before the sweater was finished. Thinking of the lamb's expectant face, the mother took the half-knitted sweater out from under the bed. After many days, she came out of her room again. She sat under the eaves of the house and continued the unfinished sweater for her lamb. The lamb was now brought back to the clouds by the wolf guards. He sat dejectedly at the end of the line. The river was getting closer and closer to him. He was next in line for heaven. At that moment, the mother sheep finished her sweater. She put it in her hands and held it up. The next moment, the sweater appeared on the lamb's body. The lamb was so happy. He knew his mom had finally pulled herself together. He could finally leave without worrying. When the lamb turned around, he suddenly realized that there was no fur behind the wolf guards, so he knew what the lamb was thinking all along. When he was sleeping, he secretly pulled out the hair behind him. He weaved a path for him to go home. The wolf guard waved his staff, and the wool disappeared. All of the little sheep's belongings that they were carrying when they crossed the river disappeared with them. But when the lamb crossed the river, the crown on his head disappears, but his woolen sweater remains, because love is not an object. It's the only thing that lasts beyond life and death.